G'day guys, welcome to the channel. My name's Tim, and on today's episode we're taking a look at Bitcoin and specifically this area here, and I've noticed some interesting things going on, and I just want to draw your attention to a couple things here, especially with the moving averages. So first of all, Bitcoin appears to be inside this ascending channel, and you can see it's bouncing off the bottom of the channel and then hitting the top of the channel, bouncing off the bottom, and now we're about halfway up the channel right here. Now, what I've also noticed is the 20-day moving average, this brown line, is following the line of this bottom of the channel quite nicely. So you could argue that Bitcoin is bouncing off this 20-day moving average right here. And right now, it might be waiting for this average to catch up. So you can see Bitcoin is just sort of hanging about, not doing much, going sideways. If it keeps going sideways, eventually it will meet up with the 20-day moving average. And you can see in the past, when we have met with the 20-day moving average, we have bounced off it. Now, if we look back in the past a little bit, let's have a look what happened with Bitcoin and the 20-day moving average on the way up the mountain here. So you can see that it does tend to bounce off the 20-day moving average until it cuts through it. And whenever it does cut through, it tends to find support on the green line, which is the 50-day moving average. You can see it does it again here. It goes up, it cuts through the 20, and it finds support. In this case, it didn't even really drop to the 50, but it found support and then went back up again. And at this point, it cut through and found support on the 50, bounced off the 20 again a couple times, and then we fell through the 20, and then we fell through the 50, and we ended up landing here on the 100-day moving average. Now, from that point forward, we went up a little bit, and then we stayed below the green line, which is the 50-day moving average, all through this period down here. Based on this, it shows that we tend to bounce off the 20, but then we do cut through it on a regular basis in a bull run. So we should anticipate that we may do something similar at a point very soon in the future, that we do go through the 20. If the 20 goes up like this, there's a very high chance that we do go through it, and the 50 moves like that, and we may bounce off the 50. Okay, so that's something that we should anticipate based off what Bitcoin has done over the last 12 months or so. So now if it does cut through these moving averages and find support here on the 50-day, what we should look for is whether it bounces off the 50 and goes back up again, whether it does that or whether it cuts through, okay? So if it cuts through, that's a much more bearish sign, because as you'll remember from back here, when we cut through the 50, it was pretty much a sign of some bearish times to come. So we have to watch to see whether we cut through the 50 or whether we bounce off it. If we bounce off it, then that's more promising for the bulls. Now, if we do bounce off it, the next thing to look for is to see whether we make a higher high compared to where we start here. So this could be a high. It's possible we go up to here, but whichever, wherever we go, if we do cut through, which is a very high likelihood based on what it's been doing in the past, when we bounce off, if we make a lower high, then what's happened in the past, we then have tended to cut through it again. So really, whatever high we make in the short term right now, once we cut through these moving averages and touch the 50-day, we have to see whether we make a lower high or whether we bounce up and make a higher high, like we did on the way up here in the bull run. So you can see when we bounced off the 50-day there, we came up and we made a higher high compared to that high. And where that was different was at this point when we cut through the moving averages and we made a lower low. Sorry, we made a lower high compared to that high there. So these are some of the key things to keep an eye on to give us an indication of whether we're going to continue the way up or crash through these moving averages and go into more bearish times. So that was the main thing I wanted to focus on today. You can see the RSI is showing also a bearish divergence. So this is on the daily chart. And if I move to the 4-hourly chart, it's looking very similar. So that's just something to keep an eye on. And if we go to the weekly chart, you can see that there is a bit of a divergence here. You can see it is starting to roll over a little bit, as well as the volumes going down. So there are a few warning signs there. We'll have to keep an eye and see what happens over the coming days. So anyway, that was it for today. Just a nice short and sharp video, just talking about what Bitcoin is doing at the moment and what to anticipate in the coming weeks and which moving averages to look for, and also whether Bitcoin does a lower high or a higher high after bouncing off or cutting through the 50-day moving average in particular. Channel. Some people might call it a wedge, but to me it looks more like an ascending channel. And you can see that we go to the top of the channel, then the bottom of the channel, top of the channel, bottom of the channel, and now we're about maybe halfway up the oh my god! Give me a fright. You gave me a fright. Oh my! Subscribe.
Please. Please subscribe or Adelaide will be in your me.
Okay, you need to go to bed. Okay.
I know.
Good night. Into bed.
At least I'm going to be in your video.
All right. All right. I sensed something was going on there. So I hope you enjoyed the content. Please subscribe, like the channel. My name's Tim, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.